For the players, the pop culturist PlayStation podcast is fueled by the Man Shake. I lost 30 kilos in 10 months using this meal replacement shake. If you want to support the show and max in my weight loss journey, or to even start your own, click the link in the description below. The Man Shake. Real blokes, real results.
For the players.
I'm Ryan Betson.
I'm Max Cooper.
And this is For the Players, the pop culturist PlayStation podcast. With over 40 years of playing PlayStation and near on 10 years in that games media compartment. I'd like to thank you for joining us in this PlayStation conversation.
This PlayStation conversation happens every Monday morning at 8 a.m. on podcast services, including Apple Podcasts and Spotify, and 9 a.m. on those YouTubes. If you'd like to join in future conversations with us, come and check out our socials. Facebook, Discord, Instagram, and Twitter. All of our links can be found in the description below.
If you want to join us as the conversation happens, head over to twitch.tv/thepopculturist, where you can watch us record the show live, where you can jump in the chat and become part of the show. If you want to support the show, you can. Tell your friends, tell your family about this PlayStation pod. If you are on podcast services, be sure to give us a 5-star rating and a written review, which you can also do now on Spotify. If you are on YouTube, be sure to like, subscribe, and comment below. I endeavor to answer every single comment. And if you want to support us financially, you can at patreon.com/thepopculturist, as well as our merchandise store, popculturist.com/shop, where you can buy shirts and other assorted shit with our logos on it. Man, it's back of the week. It's the end of the week. It's Sunday. You know, like, so me having commitments of going to the wrestling again, as I do, I did push the show through to Sunday, and then Friday I went to the movies and saw Jackass. So
well, I mean, we were originally going to record Friday night, and then I'm like, Dying Light's coming out. I'm going to be playing that. Yeah. So either you can host the show yourself, or we can do it on Sunday.
Yeah, that's pretty much kind of where we're at. Like, we're going to have to Sunday.
Far too busy.
Oh, and it's like, yeah, I'm not mad, because we'll be talking about Dying Light 2 today. So I'm glad you were able to sit down and really focus your time with it. But not too bad. But it's been an interesting week, Max. So okay. to talk about last week, when we opened last week's show, I talked about finally receiving my diagnoses for my ADHD. This is my first week of being medicated. It's awesome. Like, it's insane how ridiculous it is. How, like, makes sense. Life-changing. Brain-changing. It's just such a unexplainable, uncomparable difference to my world. Just how I process, how I see things, how I feel, how my body wants to react to things. I didn't realize I had so limited control of my brain, or that it was so not doing what it was supposed to do until now. It's absolutely crazy. Absolutely crazy. So it doesn't fix anything. It doesn't solve anything, because, you know, it's not a solution, but it's a tool to sort of help get better. And the way I explained it the other day was because I still have 1,000 things come at my brain at once, so that level of high stimulus hasn't changed, but I can now process it better. I can emotionally handle it better. I can go, yes, okay, I see all those things. Let's separate those things. Yes, I'll deal with that one now. I'll deal with that one later. Or if something intense comes on, because rather than sitting an anxiety level or like an emotional instability at, like, say 85 to 90%, so anything small can really push me over that line, it scales it back. I don't feel anxious anymore. Like today, I have a crippling fear of heights, right? Maybe not so gnarly. I got up on the roof today to try fix the aerial because it's been a shit, and full of Ritalin on the roof. I was like, this is horrifying. But there was no freak out. There was no, like, overwhelming physical response to the anxiety. I was like, this is uncomfortable. But I was still able to get down and climb the ladder and get up there and do what I needed to do. And it's like, it really allowed me to, like, control the emotion side. I know it doesn't make sense. It just means that, like, really the fear response that I've had in the past to heights is a bit different. Like, how my body would respond to a fear is different than what I thought. It's a whole string of things. That's not that's not supposed to be part of what the medication does, but it did. And yeah, it's been an experience this week, Max. Been all medicated. It's
that's good.
I wish I did it sooner. I have no regrets, but I wish I did it sooner. Holy shit.
Yeah,
I
for
wish I did
sure.
it sooner. Oh. How's your week been? How's things for you?
Yeah, not too bad. So let's do some more house updates.
Oh, yeah. No,
got
internal, external updates this party. Let's go.
got into contact with the builder, because they asked for their remainder of the deposit. So I rang them and said, look, the way our loan is structured, we've borrowed everything from the bank for the house portion, and we used our deposit to pay for the land. So if you want your deposit, you need to give me the house plan so I can give them to the bank, so the bank will release the funds.
Yep.
And he's like, okay, cool, I understand that. Here's where the issue is. You haven't done your color selection appointment yet, which means your plans cannot be finalized in case you decide to change something major in your house at the color appointment. So we can't give the bank the plans because we don't have finalized plans for your house yet in case you change shit up. And I'm like, okay, that makes sense.
When's your color appointment?
The 25th of February. So
at least it's this month.
Well, I spoke to the builder. I'm like, hey, look, is there a way we can kind of fast track this thing? He's like, yes. What I'm going to do is I'm going to flag it that you've done it. Your house plans are finalized. We're going to push it through. Everyone's going to get paid. We're going to lay your slab. We're going to get everything done. Because are you planning on changing anything major to the house? I'm like, no, all the additions that we've already wanted, we've already picked. So, for instance, we're changing our kitchen a little bit. Instead of having one standard bench top, it's going to be an L-shaped bench with a window. So we've already put those changes into effect. So we're not actually going to change anything. So he's like, yep, cool. I'll mark that down. We'll do it all. So yeah, everything's now moving ahead finally. After signing all the stuff, like what feels to be years ago, it's now finally happening.
Like, are you happy about it? Like, are you happy to sort of have everything sort of move forward?
Now that I spoke about the anxiety last week of when they mentioned that we had a shortfall between the what the bank was paying for and the cost of the house, but now knowing that that's a very tiny, insignificant number, it's fine. I'm over it.
That's good.
And then to back end my week, my wife and I got a couple's tattoo because why not? So for those watching live or watching on the YouTubes later, I have a lovely little hamburger on my wrist, and my wife got some fries because you can't have a burger without fries. Isn't that just like a little bit? It's a
little bit gay.
Well, look, I didn't want to say it.
Just like, look, you know,
it's a little bit cheesy, but
no. It's adorable. It's fantastic. I do.
So yeah, that was a bit of fun on Friday, and then yeah, that's pretty much it.
Well, yes, outside of the putting methamphetamine in my face, my week has been pretty all right. Like it's but intense. Like work has gotten gnarly. I'm working longer days than ever before, and I'm just come home and I'm exhausted, and it's just been fucked. So like. We have some games to talk about now because this is now we get into games that we've been playing. Before we dive into the big one, so like when I have come home, and I'm just like I have really been diving so heavy into Horizon Zero Dawn. Now, aside from it being one of our backlog challenge games of the year, so the pressure is on for me to finish it by the end of the year. The pressure is double on because Forbidden West is 2 weeks away. I know it's in hands of people that we know because they talked about it on Twitter. So we know there's codes in the wild, and I don't know when the embargo drops, but history, like we're pretty lucky and we might be able to get it on embargo day. So I'm like, well, that's less than 2 weeks. Oh no. I'm going to have to really start running through Horizon. So that's what I've been doing this week. Now, one of the other things. So there's two things that when it comes to Horizon that I had incorrectly calculated previously. Now I've gone on the record on the show saying that I did about 10 hours, 15 hours, something around there in my time with Horizon the first time I played it, which is likely, but I have gotten so much further in the 19 hours that I've played. Like, obviously, I may have done 14 out, 15, 10, 15 hours previously, but I don't know what the fuck I was doing. I must have been just wandering around doing anything productive because I am way further in the game than I ever was. Like, I could distinctly remember the point where I went, oh, that was my trend. Like, I remember that's the last thing I did. And then I'm like, phew, I shoot way past it. I'm like, what the fuck was I doing those other times? Or which is very possible because my inability to correctly measure time, I probably didn't put as much time into the game as what I originally thought. Probably most likely.
Most likely.
Game is very, very good though. Very, very good. I'm still really, really enjoying it. I'm having a lot of fun just running around clearing out shit, which I really shouldn't be doing because I should actually be focusing on the main story so I can get credits. But instead I'm wandering around, finding all the metal flowers, finding all the little figures, just doing all the little different things that I probably shouldn't be doing. But yeah, buddy, the chat goes, so the embargo for Horizon is February 14th at 7 p.m. I've got a week. I can get there. Right.
I don't know, where are you up to?
I just got to Meridian.
Okay.
Doesn't
help me.
No.
That doesn't help me. I don't know. I to be fair, I haven't played in like, 3 years, 4 years.
But that's what I've been thinking. So, like, there are 2 games that we've been provided review codes this week. One of them being Dying Light 2. We've had that for a little while. And the other being Olli Olli World. Now, I played like 5 minutes Olli Olli World today, but we'll jump into you first. So you, Max, you were the one that was most excited for Dying Light 2. So big thank you to the team over at Stride PR for providing us the review code for Dying Light 2. So Max and I have been able to play it. I haven't jumped into it yet myself, as I said. Max, though, I know that you have gone.
Yeah, so I've gone pretty hard. I've put close to 20 hours in, and I must admit the majority of that time has just been kind of just grinding, trying to level up a little bit before I tackle the main story. I am playing this game the majority in co-op. So just for those, a quick overview. Dying Light 2 is a follow-on from the original. So they reference the first game. They mention Haran, but you are now in a different walled city. You're playing as a different character. New people. There are some throwbacks to old characters that you do get to see. But for the most part, you are in an entirely new area, and they're dealing with the pandemic in a very different way from what the people of Haran were. What's really depressing is that this game's set in 2023. It's kind of
accurate.
Kind of accurate, yeah. So for the most part, the gameplay is almost identical to the first one. They have made some awesome changes to the parkour system, which really made that game. Added new the ability tree is so much more expanded. So again, you have the 2 separate trees like you did in the first one. You'll have one based on power, which are all your essentially your melee attacks, your combat prowess, and then you have your parkour skill tree, which allows you to do your parkour skills. With a few of the parkour like combat abilities too. So the ability to like jump off enemies and kick enemies and all that fun stuff. The difference being now is you get in the world you find GRE injectors, which allow you to upgrade either your stamina or your health once you find 3 of them. And the abilities are not only tied behind prerequisite abilities, but also you need to have a certain amount of either max HP or stamina.
Oh.
So you have to pick and choose how you're going to level up, because the more stamina you have, if you pour all your stuff in stamina, you don't have health, and if you don't have health, you can't get all the combat abilities.
Which will also disadvantage you if you're someone like myself and play a real sort of even spread.
Yes.
Ooh.
So I kind of maxed out my parkour tree pretty quickly. It is a lot easier to get parkour XP than to get combat XP, because you literally just have to climb on stuff and you'll get XP for it. They also introduced tiered gear in this game, and the gear also gives you benefits. So at the moment, I'm rocking I think there's 4 archetypes. I believe it's medic, tank, brawler, and there's one other that I can't think of off the top of my head. But all the gear that I'm wearing gives bonus percentage XP to parkour. So I kind of just run around and gain levels fairly quickly to upgrade all my parkour skills, because that's what I like doing. The movement and the free running in this game is absolutely fantastic. There are times where it can be a little bit janky. One of the new skills they introduced was the ability to do a 180 in midair, hold your momentum, and just jump in the complete opposite direction to what you were going in to begin with. It looks very bizarre when you're observing someone else do it, and it feels very bizarre on your screen when you're trying to do it.
It's not how physics works.
Because it's not how physics works. Very, very useful skill for if you've accidentally overshot your jump and you've jumped off a roof. You can quickly 180 and kind of save yourself and grab onto the ledge.
That's a good way to use it. Okay.
But it has its uses. It has its uses. A lot of the enemy types are fairly similar. Now, I'm not too far into the game yet. But you see, there's the standard zombies. You have your human renegades. There's the factions that were introduced in this game type. So you have essentially the PKs, which are the peacekeepers, or they're essentially the police of this area. Mm-hmm. There's the renegades. This is for the very first area that you start in, and then there's the people in the bazaar, who are kind of just the standard citizens. And you play as what they refer to as a pilgrim, who's someone who adventures outside of the walls and sees how the pandemic's really hitting. You kind of pick and choose, and you do get some choice of who you're going to help. There are very certain points in the game where you kind of pick and choose where your loyalties lay, and how you're going to go about those. And they obviously will shape the way you play the game and what things become available to you. So there's very clearly now, when you open your map, different colored areas on the map, which will show you what faction is in control of that area. Mm-hmm. And if you're not aligned with them, that area becomes more difficult for you, because there's more enemies of that more enemies of that type. So if you're not allied with the peacekeepers and you're in their territory, there's peacekeepers everywhere that will kind of just come at you out of nowhere. They've changed the way the nighttime system works. In the first game, it was purely just at nighttime, all XP's doubled, but it was kind of chill. Every once in a while, there would be a horde that would kind of chase you. Things would get dicey, but you could kind of just escape and you'd be fine. Mm-hmm. In this, there are chase levels 1 through to 4. Think of it as like a GTA star system. So at level 1, you've got basic dudes just chasing you. At level 2, they're stronger. At level 4, the hunters come out and they kind of mess your day mess your day up. And the other thing that they've also introduced in this game is there's essentially a third. So there's a third resource that you have to keep in check. So not only do you have to keep your health in check and your stamina in check, but there is another meter that you have to keep in check, which I don't want to go too much into it because it's fairly spoilery, but there's the third meter that kind of adds another layer of difficulty to the game, because you're essentially always on a time limit. Which is cool. But it does up that tension somewhat.
This isn't spoilers because this was in some of the marketing material. Is this the UV thing?
Yeah. So it's the UV counter. So whenever you go into a building or at nighttime, you have a UV counter that counts down. Obviously, there are craftable items that you can craft. There's UV boosters that you just instantly... they're essentially an asthma inhaler. You can get bioluminescent mushrooms that will allow you to up your UV rating. But anytime you're inside or at nighttime, you're kind of on a time limit to keep this as high as possible. So it does add an extra bit of resource management as well as difficulty and tension in your gameplay. Because if you're say it's nighttime, you're in a level 4 chase, things are coming at you from everywhere, and you've got like a minute remaining, and you can't take anything because you're getting hammered in all sides. You've got to run to those safe zones. You got to find somewhere that has UV light to kind of help. So far, I'm really enjoying the changes. I've noticed there's a couple of changes that they made to multiplayer that aren't sitting well for me personally. In the first game, when you played as a team in cooperative, other players could mark on their map, and it would automatically assign each player A, B, C, or D. So you could see on the map where they've marked, and you can go to their marker. They seem to have removed that. There's been occasions where the servers are kind of a little bit janky. Okay. I've had a few hard crashes that have booted me out of the game. But the checkpoint system's really good. Doesn't take too long to boot back in. It's more of an inconvenience than anything else. There are times where we've all kind of had to reboot the game to get the matchmaking to work properly. But you know, as far as from memory, matchmaking was not available in pre-release. It came out on launch day with official launch of the game.
That is correct. So co-op was not available to us prior to release day. Yeah.
So, and from all reports, the game's doing gangbusters, and their servers are probably all over the place at the moment. So,
yeah. So one of the things that because as always, once again, so we both have the code, but I haven't played it. So, a couple questions that I have. First one is one of the sort of the review comments that have come out about this game, because the review scores themselves have been quite vast. Like there's been quite a gap. Some are giving it really low, some giving it really high, and people having varying different experiences with it. One of the things that's mentioned is it's almost very similar to Days Gone in the way that the pre-release, the pre-day one patch version of the game, real fucked.
Yeah,
Would you agree with that assessment?
I have played the majority of my time post-release after we got the day one patch. I did play a little bit of it pre-release, and there were issues. Yeah. Like, you know, their day one patch fixed, I believe the developers tweeted out around 1,000 bug fixes and additions. Like, it was a pretty hefty day one patch. And obviously, you know, they added multiplayer to that. So yeah, I would agree to a you know, in my user case that I did experience more bugs pre-launch to post-launch. And obviously I mentioned the few minor hiccups that I've run into, mainly revolving around multiplayer. I haven't had a single crash when playing solo. I only ever crash when playing cooperative.
Interesting.
Which is interesting.
Yeah, so just for context as well, so this isn't a review, this is just the early impressions.
Oh yeah, very early
with the
impressions.
game being 500 hours. No, just with the game being quite lengthy.
Yep, strap yourselves in and prepare to hear me talk about this for like the next 3 weeks.
Yeah, spot on. So even though apparently even if you golden path it, like 20 hours is kind of an undersell. It's actually quite you're probably looking at like 30, 40, you know, even if you slightly falter.
There is one. I should mention there is one other thing that they added in the multiplayer functionality that I thought was brilliant. So in the first game, when you played cooperatively and you reached a checkpoint area for like a mission objective, it would give the other players a notification saying, "Hey, if you want to teleport to the objective, hold down on the D-pad." But they had the choice to not do that. Now in this game, they still have that. But the party leader also has the option to force teleport everyone to you on a 10-second timer. So, say your mate's gone, "Hey, I'm just going to go get a drink. I'll be back in 5." But you've hit the checkpoint. You can force him to teleport onto you so you can keep things rolling, which is nice. Because there's always people... I know there's one in my group who's just absolutely atrocious at parkour, and he's always like, "I don't know how to get up onto that roof."
Call him out.
We're like, we'll just teleport you up there, man. It's all good.
Call him out.
Nah, I can't do that. He knows who he is. He knows who he is.
One of the things you mentioned, like we'll start, because once again, this still being early impressions, we'll have more thoughts over the coming weeks.
Yeah,
but one of the things you mentioned is like it's kind of you're in a different area, you're in a different like walled town. There are minor nods and acknowledgements of the previous game. Do you think that there is you could get away with not playing the first game?
Yes.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I'm still very early in, so I don't know if
from where you're at currently.
I don't
We'll check
I don't
that
know
in.
how much of like a crazy throwback that they do.
Yeah.
I know that very early on you do meet someone from the original game, and they do the, you know, I wish we could all be wish we could all be here. And then
I wish we could
just,
all insert reference here. Yeah.
yeah, and then you kind of just move on.
Yeah.
And then everything's all good again. But yeah, for the most part, I mean, it depends on what you're wanting out of this game. Like a lot of the differential in the reviews are the story's kind of mediocre, and I'm finding that to not be the case yet. It's interesting enough to keep me pushing forward, but it's not like the best story ever told in a video game. What sold me on this game and what sold me on the original Dying Light was the fact that it's a 4-player cooperative game, and it is really fun to play with friends. And you know, sometimes you just need that mindless zombie killing fun with a little bit of story sprinkled in. Fair. But at the moment, I am finding the story at least interesting enough to keep me wanting to push forward. But it's you know, it's no blockbuster hit.
Yeah, that's fair.
And I think that's why a lot of the numbered reviews are so swayed. It's that you can tell the people who are playing it single player and reviewing it, and the people who are probably playing it as a group and are like, well, this is way better with more people. Although it's the same game in principle, sometimes the fun is made from who you play with.
Well, there you go. Well, we'll have more to say over the coming weeks. So if you want to hear more of Max's thoughts on Dying Light 2 and mine as well, because I will endeavor to jump into it this week as well. But yeah, another game that I endeavored to get into was Olli Olli World. The code for that came yesterday at time of recording.
Yeah.
So pretty much on just before release day. I think it comes out on the 8th. I have put 45 minutes into it. I created myself as a character. I did it with my son, and he was very adamant that I must have elbow pads and knee pads for safety, because when we go skateboarding or scootering, I make him do it. So he brought that into the game, which I appreciate. But I love the setup of the game so far, because the idea is that it's a lot more story driven than what I remember Olli Olli and Olli Olli 2 to be. You're in this locale called Radlandia, and there is a series of 5 gods, the gods of skating. And you're coming in as this sort of prophet that helps the gods connect with those in Radlandia, or they're in Nirvana, as in gnarly Nirvana. It's a little fun on skateboarding vernacular. And so where I'm at right now, it's still very tutorial stuff, because once again I was playing with my kid and he was just having fun pushing and flicking, and he had more fun just doing the same tutorials over and over again. So I'll very early thoughts on that one. I got nothing much more to say, but I'll have more over for next week. What about yourself?
Yeah, I'm the same. I think I put maybe 25 minutes in. I've played the first 3 or 4 tutorial levels.
Yeah.
But yeah, more to say next week, I think.
So from memory, I remember getting quite frustrated at the original Olli Olli, because it was so meticulous on the timing you had to have. I think I was playing it on Vita, and I just kept getting mad. I'm like, the pinpoint accuracy the game required. I have old man reflexes. I can't do it. What are you going to do? Anyways, Max, that's enough about that. Now, there's something new that will be coming next week into this section. Just preface, by the way. Just get excited. Cool shit is coming. Very excited. But this is our section we call our Get Less.
I was gonna say we may have to break them up so they're not one after the other.
Big one chunk of referencing things external to us.
Yeah.
We'll find a way. Anyway, this is a section we call our Get Less Fat update, where we tell you about what happened this week in our weight loss journeys. For those of you that may not know, I was on a weight loss journey since 2020, where I've lost over 40 kilos using a product called the Man Shake. It's a meal replacement shake made out of Australia that I am an ambassador for. And in turn, the show supports, the shakes, the company Man Shake supports us on the show. Max started his weight loss journey last year, and we do this section to keep ourselves accountable, to make sure we stay on the straight and narrow, and providing some insight to you all. You don't have to be a fan of games or be a gamer and be a fat dude. It's pretty easy. How has your week been, Max? Now you've been pretty touch and go in the last couple of weeks.
I'm still pretty lax at the moment. I'm not shaking, but I'm not eating crap.
Any movements in the weights?
I'm down another pant size, but I haven't weighed myself, so I guess win-ish.
So how many pant sizes? How many pant sizes are you down now?
I was 44. I'm now 38 to 40, depending on the style. So that's nice.
You're not far behind me. I'm 36, 38 now.
It's frustrating. I now have to tie up all my pants if I leave the house. Otherwise, I just lose them as soon as I step out of the car.
Well, yeah, you and I went and moved a bunch of shit, and you was just constant Max's ass hanging out of pants.
So that's always fun. But other than that, I ate some questionable sausages last night that have destroyed me. So
just inside, yeah. You said they're like prep the start of the show. You're like, I'm inside pain.
I'm standing there at the butcher's because I like my big weekly shop, and they're like jalapeno sausages. I'm like, I like jalapenos. I like sausages. I'll try that. And I died last night. What about you? Are you still?
Look, I'm still in the same motion that I have been, which is the 2 shakes a day and the My Muscle Chef meals for dinner. So I went to the gym yesterday morning for the first time in like a month, because my schedule and my world has been it's just in utter chaos. So I've not had the routine back of going to the gym. I went and it was awesome. I didn't push myself too hard because I kind of had some shoulder pain recently. I just I jacked up a muscle somewhere somehow, and so I got that worked on. Like my dad came around on Saturday, and he, with his muscle masseuse skills, cranked at it a little bit and kind of loosened it up. So then when I was able to get to the gym, I went to the gym that morning. So with the work that morning and then him kind of kneading some of the crap out, it's much freer today, which is good. Saying that though, I have a lot of chest, boob, and like this area pain, because I was like arm day, and then went to the wrestling yesterday. So making a lot of noise, hitting the banner, like just doing a lot of repetitive movement of the arm and the tit region, and I'm a little bit stiff. My abs are a bit stiff as well, because I did return to do some crunches after a while. It's going to take me a little while to get back in the swing. I found out though that I've lost about 10 kilos in my bench press, which I'm a little devastated about. But when you don't go for a month and a bit, it's like, okay, that makes sense. Well, okay, it's not something that you would sort of have. So unless you're doing it continuously, you will, you don't use it, you will lose it. But in terms of my weight's been pretty steady. I said I've been eating reasonably well. There's been it's kind of the same as it has always been. I haven't gotten harder. I haven't gotten more lax. And I've been still sitting around that 102, 103 mark. So still, 40 kilos down, which is great, and no re-spikes. So it's certainly very manageable, which is great. But yeah, so not too bad. But anyways, if you want to support us on our weight loss journeys, or maybe even start your own, you can by clicking the link in the description below. It is bit.ly/FTP Manshake. And you don't have to buy anything, man. Just by clicking on the link, you help support the show, you help support us. And look, who knows, maybe you'll even change your life and go from where I was at 140 kilos to 102 and growing a shitty beard. Like this is what you could become. I wouldn't recommend it. This is not a good thing. Externally, internally, it's not very good. But at least you could be better. I don't know where I was going with that. But Manshake, check it out. All right, this is a good section. This is where we inform the players. We tell you about what happened this week in PlayStation. Max, a big doozy to kick off the week.
Sony has welcomed another studio to the family. Sony is set to acquire Destiny developer Bungie for $3.6 billion. Sony Interactive Entertainment CEO Jim Ryan has posted about the acquisition over on the PlayStation blog. His statement stresses that Bungie will remain an independent publisher and developer and will not be counted among Sony's first-party PlayStation studios. Quote, "We believe it makes sense for Bungie to sit alongside the PlayStation Studios organization, and we are incredibly excited about the opportunities for synergies and collaboration between these two world-class groups. It sounds like Bungie could potentially partner with PlayStation's key developers on future projects. Quote, we will be ready to welcome and support Bungie as they continue to grow, and I cannot wait to see what the future holds for this incredible team." This coming from Herman Holst. An official statement from Bungie reads, quote, "We will continue to independently publish and creatively develop our games. We will continue to drive one unified Bungie community. Our games will continue to be where our community is, wherever they choose to play. It's been confirmed that Bungie's games will remain multi-platform. What's more, Bungie is framing this like it's a huge deal for the company." Its statement continues, "In SIE, we have found a partner who unconditionally supports us in all we are and who wants to accelerate our vision to create generation-spanning entertainment, all while preserving the creative independence that beats in Bungie's heart. Like us, SIE believes that the game worlds are only the beginning of what our IPs can become. Together, we share a dream of creating and fostering iconic franchises that unite friends around the world, families across generations, and fans across multiple platforms and entertainment mediums."
All right.
And just to add this in, this deal is set to take place over several years with an upfront $1.2 billion to keep workers in the studio. They're basically like, we're going to give you this upfront to try and retain as many workers as possible, because obviously in the past, Bungie's been owned by both Microsoft and Activision. Their split with Activision was fairly messy from memory. They were not fans of being under their whole thing. So, workers may be like, oh, great, we're just kind of getting lumped in again. Sony are trying to be like, hey, we guys respect what you do. We see what you do. We love what you do. We really want you to stay where you are. Here's an incentive to stay where you are. Yeah. Stay with the team that you know. So yeah.
So you've been a bit more Destiny fan. I'll let you back end this one. From where I'm sitting, because Magic Shane in the chat says weirdest gaming acquisition ever. I think currently, especially within the market that we're seeing. So what we're seeing right now is people buying up and then holding on to things, which is, with the irony of that is, once again, as we talked about last week with Phil Spencer talking out of two sides of his mouth at any given time. So he talks about gaming is for everyone, but only everyone over here. It's like the Animal Farm, we're all equal, but some are more equal than others. So similar concept. Where what Sony have done here is they've essentially bought a company that's within PlayStation, but it's not going to it's not part of PlayStation Studios, and which I kind of like. So it ensures income. 2, it provides assets and other things that can assist the company. So at no point, although purchased under Sony Interactive Entertainment, they are not considered part of the first party family or PlayStation Studios, right? They are their literal own additional panel. Like if you were to look at some sort of like a tree or a spreadsheet of all the different parts of Sony Interactive Entertainment, they are completely separate. From
Bungie's the outlier over.
Yeah, Bungie's over here. In the same way, it's like this and that, and it's over here. It's not even in the first parties. Where even though, as an example, Microsoft with their purchase of ZeniMax, they've stated that the company that ZeniMax will still work as its own publisher, as its own developer, in its own column. Yet the way they communicate and the way they present ZeniMax as a studio, it is clearly under the Microsoft Studios banner. It's within that same space. But this is just a side thing. This is like, yeah, it's like, hey, it's essentially like it's almost like a massive investment is the way I'm seeing it. Now, don't get me wrong. I will stand by what I said last week. Has any form of this level of consolidation in the games media is a bad thing. It's not awesome. However, to me, where I'm looking at right now, this is kind of the better way to go about it. Like, no one is missing out on this, right? So, like, it's just like someone coming in and being an owner. Like, there's an owner. You have an owner, so that gives you the overhead. They give you safety, but you're still acting freely, presumably. Because once again, when you have an owner in some capacity that is providing money, they will then be the ones that have the final say. So it's all well and good to be like, hey, we have complete creative control. They are just our owners. Yeah, but those owners always have a say. Always have a say. You know? So it's a tough thing. It's tough to speak. But for what I'm seeing here, and this does seem to be something that's very common, in terms of opinion around this purchase, is we're seeing PlayStation gain knowledge potential, or the knowledge staff members, skill sets, framework that can benefit them without strangling someone else from getting something. You know?
This thing kind of relates to the next story.
Oh, okay. Well, then we'll come back to that. So, like, at least in terms of Bungie as a whole, it seems like a great idea. Like, yeah, they get to work in relative autonomy. Destiny is still available everywhere because, you know, when it comes to Destiny, it would be dumb. It would be stupid to completely solo it just on PlayStation or just on PlayStation and PC. Because right now, what they've essentially done is guarantee a butt ton of future revenue for Destiny.
Yeah, so we spoke about this with a few other people, and I mentioned that it now makes sense as to why the upcoming Witch Queen expansion that drops later this month is not coming to Games Pass like the rest of the expansions were. And this kind of now makes sense because Sony now, threw money at them. They own them now. So why would they put their newest expansion out in the wild for free on Games Pass? It's still I believe it's still there for PC. I could be wrong, but it was this weird line where they're like, up until this point you've got it, but from here on you won't. It does make sense as Bungie's, from the Bungie quote, they are a very community-driven studio. Their game is very community-driven, and if they turned around and went, I can't imagine them selling themselves to become an exclusive studio. That kind of goes against what they're doing. And then on the back end of the news that Sony has confirmed that they have 10 live service games in the work, all planned to be released by March 2026. Who better to teach you how to live service game than Bungie?
With that in mind, if we're looking ahead to what I presume the next live service game to come out of PlayStation's first parties is Factions. Like, Factions as a full-blown multiplayer game, it has to be a live service. And I think
literally the first thing that I said that came to my mind, it's like, Factions is a live service game. We're going to get a Last of Us survival MMO, essentially. And that could be completely wrong, but if it's not,
to me, that makes the most sense. If you look at the math and the things where they stand. So look, Sony had tried to make experiences in the live service space, and they haven't won. And like, it is so tough because what you're fighting with live services is not just financial. You're also fighting against time. People only have so much time to invest in games, and if every game is demanding time the way a live service does, you better make it worthwhile. And at least Sony, in this circumstance, can look at Bungie, and like, Bungie have been the ones that have taken hits. They've had wins, they've had losses, they've had everything when it comes to working in a live service space. So to be able to go to them and go, hey, we're looking at doing this, and they can go, look, from history, we wouldn't recommend that because this is how we did it here. You know what I mean? It's interesting space, but like, when it comes to the games as a service stuff, it's interesting.
Because there's a quote from Jim Ryan recently explaining how Bungie will aid the push of Sony's live service games. And the quote is, "This is a strategic step towards continuing to evolve the gaming experiences that we build. Bungie's expertise in delivering a world-class service approach and long-term community engagement is extremely compelling and will support the development of several future live service titles from PlayStation Studios."
Yeah. It seems to be a good... Look, to me, it's in the same way that we saw Discord, right? They're like, where Microsoft were trying to buy Discord, Sony were like, hey, we're going to invest money in you and we'll work together. And like, what I'm seeing here is, like, from what we know, is that this communication between Bungie and Sony has been going on for the last 6+ months, right? It's not a new... This isn't a response of Activision, and anyone that claims that this is a response to Activision purchasing has fucking no idea how business works. You cannot do this in 3 weeks. It's fucking impossible. So this is a long-term discussion. And what I'm seeing here is that Bungie really had Sony by the balls in this discussion. Because for $3.6 billion, they're paying for a studio with essentially one IP, the potential of something new, and like they were able to dictate their terms, and those terms were: we stay multi-platform, we still do it this way, we still have creative control. Because coming off the back of their deal with Activision, we're like, hey, where they planned for 10 years in the future, and like you have 10, like it's a 10-year deal, you're going to hit these beats along the way, otherwise the deal is void. And Bungie were like, we're going to have control here. And Sony were willing to play ball. And I appreciate that. Additionally, what Bungie may or may not have realized, they are setting a precedent here in a good way. Because right now, and the quote that I heard today was essentially, this is not the war that we needed. It's not the war that we wanted, but it's coming. This whole acquisitions war, it's not, no one really wants it, but it's going to happen. And not much we can do to stop it at this point. So now, if Microsoft decide to go and buy someone again, and they go, it's exclusive now, they're like, but why? Your competitor did it, and they haven't strangled anybody out of the market. So why do you have to do it? Like, why, the conservative Sony, real old way of thinking, have made a new way move. And why are you returning to the old way of thinking, Microsoft? I thought you were better than that. I thought gaming was for everyone, etc., etc. So, like, Bungie have essentially laid the groundwork for any acquisition moving forward. Like, well, presumably they're not already in talks, might I add. Once again, more than 2 days. Unless there's been any talk in the works. Right now in the market that it is, the publishers, the developers, whoever, they have the chips on their side, and they can argue. Because right now, and whether it be out of fear or out of just holding on to your market share, we're going to see more studios get purchased, and we will likely see Microsoft going to people. Sony probably not as viciously by the sounds, but approach people going, hey.
Well, in an interview with Games Industry earlier this week, Jim Ryan does state that we should expect more acquisitions from Sony.
That's scary shit. And once again, this is not the fight that I want to see. It's not where what I think the space should be. But if Bungie can negotiate the way they have and have a deal that allows them to continue to what they were doing, but now they're supported, and like that just means they can't. If we see more things like this, then sure, that's okay. Because everyone gets everything. Sony's first-party studios don't get disadvantaged. The players don't get disadvantaged. To me, if it had to happen, which by the looks of it, it's going to have to happen, this is the best way to go about it. Because in the chat here before, where was it? Mentions that some of the console wars talk irritates me. Is people are talking like it's immediate effect thing, forgetting how long development takes and it is in the works for. I just get irritated with all the console war talk. And I understand, I'm with him. Like, we run a PlayStation podcast, and like, granted, our preferred platform to play is PlayStation. So like everything I'm saying here today isn't coming out of a fanboy stance. You know, like there is a little bit of defeat, a bit of why does they have to buy everyone? I'm fucking sick of this shit. But it's one of those. Well, if it's a realistic approach, right? If it's gonna happen, at least it's being done the right way, or at least the right way, quote unquote. It's the safest way. It's the lesser of all the evils. Am I in a right thought process there, Max? Like,
no, I'm pretty much with you. You pretty much hit all the beats that I've been talking about this week with you and some other people. It makes sense to keep Bungie as a multi-platform studio. I threw out the idea of they could use that as leverage. Like, hey, we've kept Bungie. We've kept Destiny 2 multi-platform. Can you hook us up with Elder Scrolls 6? Like, don't use it as a bargaining chip. Like, we're gonna play cool. Come bring your ball to the park as well.
Yeah. However, that could work in two ways from how I imagine it, right? So, whether it be a conversation of, hey, hi, Sony.
They could definitely have their cake and eat it too.
Yeah, Sony can go, hey, look, we want to play ball. Is there something that we can do to ensure that you guys still get this Destiny? You guys still get your cut of the DLCs as they're purchased through the stores, etc. Can we keep this going? And they, as you said, if Microsoft go no, Sony can pull it. But once again, that's really dirty, and I don't see that happening. What I see is Microsoft doubling down and going no. You know what I mean? And they're like, all right, well, and then either way, the marketing around that is, hey, we went to them and we said, hey, this is the deal that we're willing to go with, and they said no.
I mean, that's the same issue that we talked about last week or the week before. Whenever the Microsoft acquisition happens, Microsoft's like, we tried to play ball. We said they could have it if they put Games Pass on their system, but they didn't want it, so they can't have it. Like, it's
same argument.
We tried. We gave them that option, but then we didn't try very hard, but we fucking tried.
Well, we gave a little bit of ground. It was like, well, when you hold the gun, you can make the terms. And Sony don't have that gun right now. They are behind because as we know, and we've discussed it before, Microsoft have the money, and they I think it was the last earnings call for Microsoft. They didn't even fucking talk about the purchase because it's so irrelevant to the overall thing of Microsoft. They don't fucking care. Where Sony, it's huge. $3.6 billion is staggeringly more than the last acquisition was what, Insomniac, or on dollars confirmed, which was Insomniac for 200 and something million.
Less than Bobby Kotick's buyout for okay.
It's ridiculous. Is Bungie worth $3.6 billion? Probably not. Is there potential? It's very likely. Very, very likely. I can't confirm or deny, but it's very, very likely.
Let's talk. So I'm going to throw some Sony related quick bits at you.
Yes.
PlayStation 5 console sales have now reached a total of 17.3 million as of the 31st of December last year. For comparison, 20.2 million PS4 units were sold in that same time frame of the launch time frame, not.
Because the original projection for the PS5 was to surpass that, and it's completely supply constraints the problem.
100%. Yeah. In the same call, PlayStation Plus subscribers have reached over 48 million.
Damn.
So
that's a lot.
And earlier this week there was a state of play that was all about Gran Turismo 7. So if you were a car nut, go watch it because it looked really good.
I didn't watch the state of play.
I haven't watched it. It was 30 minutes long, and it was just GT7 stuff, and it looked awesome.
I don't know, I'm not a car enthusiast, as we've mentioned on the show before. Yeah. So when the time does come to review GT7, because we will, it's a first-party title, I will be seeking out assistance from one of our friends over at the DualSense podcast. It's a PlayStation podcast made out of the US, where one of the gentlemen is Travis is a massive enthusiast in the racing scene, and he will be my point of contact. I'll be like, hey, I've played it. You played it. I played it from a casual space, or you Max and I played it from a casual space. You play it from that next level thought process. How does it run? How does it work? How does it look? Right? And because you loving Forza, which I don't care too much about Forza, I randomly fell into Need for Speed Heat when that came out, and that got me excited. But other than that, But so I'm very keen to check that out when it does happen. But I just don't have the care to watch it all. But I will. I'll eventually check it out.
Yeah, for sure.
So in the chat, so Shane's pretty excited. He says GT looks stunning. Rated Type R. I have waited so long for GT7, and that's certainly very, very true. And Park also mentioned there's a system they created for replays based upon the music used that I like. That's cool. But with all built-in systems, that's kind of interesting. But let's get into some other quick bits, Max, because the news on Bungie and that alone took up so much of the news cycle this week. When it's going to throw everything else into a small space. Ghostwire Tokyo. There was a showcase this week, and it confirmed March 25 for the release date is the day. It is coming. Max. Now we've seen footage, and I think it's the same footage that everyone else has seen.
Yeah, it went up live 2 nights ago on the PlayStation YouTube channel. Go check it out. It's an interesting watch.
Yeah. So my
personally, it sold me. I'm
really?
super keen. I've been super keen since the first time we saw it back at. I'm gonna say was it GDC that not GDC.
I remember.
Keely's
game
opening night live or whatever.
Whatever Fest, whatever it was. Yeah.
Whatever it was called. I've been keen on it for a while. It looks crazy. Like it looks batshit insane at times, but it's sold me personally. I know almost nothing about it, but I'm super intrigued.
I've only seen the footage. It hasn't completely sold me yet, but I'm interested. We'll certainly be playing it as the last big exclusive from ZeniMax. So
and unlike the last big exclusive from ZeniMax, they have done almost nothing to prepare you for this game.
Well, that's my question.
So after Deathloop got like 30 trailers a week for about a year and a half.
So there's a couple questions here, Max, that I have for you when it comes to assessing this. Is this them going and just pooping it out? Because the second this releases, it's no longer contracted. It's done. It's gone. We've done our part, and then the sooner we can get onto Games Pass, as an example, or is it
exactly what I said to you? That I think that they're at the point where this is their last contractual obligation to Sony, and they just want to get it out. They kind of don't care how it's going to sit. They just want to be done with it, so they can move on to whatever they're doing for next.
Well, because as you said, compared to Deathloop, which got like blasted across everything, where here they're like there was some gameplay like a year ago, and then dead silence. They lost the game director. Like there's been a series of problems or challenges coming out of Tango Gameworks, and even then, Evil Within and Evil Within 2 really didn't score that well, like 70s, 80s, like rents at 70s, 80s sort of area. So like it's fine, but it's not brilliant scores. Like, or do you think this is them going, look, we know what this is going to be. It'll be a fine game.
Probably.
I mean, just like, well, let's just poop it out. Let's get it done. Because I imagine Sony themselves want to be like, well, let's get this fucking deal done. Let's get it out of here. Let's not worry about it anymore. The GTA 5 next-gen version will release on the 15th of March on the current-gen consoles. That's your PS5 and your Xbox. There was mention around it being free on...
It's free for the first 3 months for PlayStation Plus subscribers.
Yeah.
If you do not redeem it within the first 3 months, you'll be charged the $1 dues.
Yeah. That's pretty sweet.
Oh, if you have a PS5... or can get one in the next 3 months from March.
You're a bit fucked otherwise. Unless you just go into the store and claim it, I suppose.
It depends, I guess, if you can.
Well, I'm pretty sure you can claim it through the web store. You can't claim it off your PlayStation 4, but you can claim it through the web store. But there's still you still got some time, Max. You don't need to rush to get a PS5 just yet, because Rockstar has confirmed that GTA 6 is in active development. It is well underway, they say, but with no obviously estimated time. It's just coming.
It's coming.
It's coming at some point.
When GTA 5 stops being in the top 10 best-selling games list for a week, they'll release GTA 6. That's when it's done. They're just waiting for GTA 5 to stop selling so well.
Yeah, so it makes me wonder if I look back at some of we did an episode, I remember previously, about what GTA 6 could be, and we had a good fun chatting about it, like kind of different locations, all these different things. I do wonder if it is as well underway or so into development as they are saying. Is it further along than we think? Those rumor mills that we heard, were they correct? There's a lot there we could look into, which is exciting. In a surprise move by no one, there will be a new Call of Duty this year. It will be Infinity Ward's release. And the rumor mill on that side, so that part is accurate. The rumor mill, it's likely going to be Modern Warfare 2, or the sequel to the recent Modern Warfare.
Yeah.
The Hogwarts Legacy, there is an official art book coming in September. So there's reasonable to believe that the game is dropping around then, which makes sense, and not delayed into next year like everyone else has been saying.
I believe September 6th is the official drop date for the art book, so I assume that the game's going to be coming at least before or on that day.
Yeah, so unlike Hogwarts Legacy, which was which was looking to be releasing and delayed into 2023, but we have proof to say that that may be coming out now. Suicide Squad, however, rumor mill this week is that that's been pushed in 2023. Nothing substantiated, no confirmation of it. It's all speculative at the moment, but what do you reckon?
Well, obviously it's on my list, so I don't want it to be. So I hope Bloomberg's got this one wrong, but who knows?
From a business standpoint, it makes sense for Warner Brothers, because even though that Hogwarts and Hogwarts isn't in the same space, Gotham Knights is, however. So it would be disappointing to flood the market. Like 3 of Warner Brothers' biggest games right now dropping in 1 year. Well, that would be a lot. Trying to replicate that in the next financial year would be near impossible.
But I mean, to be fair, 2 of those games were supposed to drop last year. So
it's very true. Very, very true. We'll wait and see on that one until we get some more confirmation. The final of the trilogy of the Far Cry 6 DLC, highlighting the villains of 3, 4, and 5. This week, the Joseph Seed expansion drops. Should be cool. I haven't played the other 2 yet.
Believe it drops on Tuesday,
which is pretty cool. And finally, which gets Max all hard in the front area, Square Enix have revealed a new Final Fantasy VII anniversary logos celebrating 25 years since release. Does that get you a little bit excited?
It actually looks real cool. So hopefully some awesome stuff comes out of that.
Nice. And then I'll quickly jump into the top 10 best-selling PS4 games of the week for the week ending the 30th of January, only because I know you like doing upcoming releases, Max. I didn't want to throw out the momentum. Number 10, Star Wars Squadrons.
I think all of these games are on sale.
Makes sense. Number 9, God of War. Number 8, Call of Duty Black Ops 3. Number 7, Need for Speed Heat. Number 6, Rainbow Six Siege. Number 5, Battlefront 2. Number 4, For Honor. Yeah, there's such a sale this week. Number 3, FIFA 2022. Number 2, Spider-Man. Number 1, Grand Theft Auto 5.
Upcoming releases for this week, we have Sifu dropping PlayStation 4, PlayStation 5, February 8th. But for those who ordered the deluxe edition, I believe it unlocks today.
So at time of recording, you can play it.
Olli Olli World comes to PS4, PS5, February 8th. Edge of Eternity comes to PS4, PS5, February 10th. And Infernax comes to PS4, February 14th.
I am so excited and also fearful for Sifu. I say fearful because if it's anything like Absolver, the game is going to kick my asshole. And I'm excited, but also very wary that I will be angry and not have a good time with it.
I'm keen.
I want to play it so bad, though.
I want to play it.
I want to play it. So
As
Buddy
watching.
yeah.
Oh, you're gonna you go.
Yeah, so Buddy watching the chat confirms that it's 10 p.m. Australian Eastern Standard Time tonight. That's time of recording on the 6th of February. So when you hear this, when the show goes live, you will be able to play it if you have pre-ordered it digitally, because it is getting a physical release. I've come to learn today. There was yesterday.
Yeah.
There's an email came out from Koch Media. That's pretty exciting. But yeah. Well, there you go, Max. That brings us to the end of another week. I know you're excited for Sifu. I know we're playing Olli Olli World, but there's a lot to look forward to in the week ahead. Big thank you to everyone for joining us, taking this time out of your Sunday evening to spend with us. I think we can do Saturday next week.
I don't see why not.
Yeah, man. I don't think there's anything throwing me off. Saying that, memory is bad. We'll see how we go.
I'll get a message 5 minutes after we wrap. Totally forgot I got this.
Yeah, I'll get a message from someone and I go, aha. There we go.
Well, everyone, this PlayStation conversation happens every Monday morning at 8 a.m. on podcast services, including Apple Podcasts and Spotify, and 9 a.m. on those YouTubes. If you'd like to take part in future conversations with us, come and check out our socials. Facebook, Discord, Instagram, and Twitter. All of those links can be found in the description below.
If you want to join us as the conversation happens, head over to twitch.tv/thepopcultures, where you can watch us record this show live. We can jump in the chat and become part of the show. If you want to support the show, you can. Tell your friends, tell your family about this PlayStation Pod. If you are listening on podcast services, be sure to give us a 5-star rating, which you can also do on Spotify, and a written review. If you want to support the show financially, you can at patreon.com/popcultures, as well as our merchandise popcultures.com/shop, where you can buy shirts and other assorted shit with our logos on it. Now, next week, if all goes well, there will be another way to support us financially. Just saying. Wink. Hashtag sponsored.
Hashtag sponsored.
But until next
Love
week,
it.
I'm Ryan Betson.
I'm Max Cooper.
And that was For the Players. It is not an OnlyFans, but we're not saying no.